some of our favorite plays of this weekend, maybe put together some parlays for you as well. An updated look at Heisman odds, guys. Carson Beck still at the top of the list, but just barely ahead of Ty Simpson at BetMGM right now. Carson Beck plus 320, Simpson plus 340, Fernando Mendoza right there as well, a little better than 4-1, plus 430. Then you back off into the mid-teens. Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, both from Ohio State at 15-1 at BetMGM. Then you get out to the 20-1s and heavier than that. Marcel Reed, Gunnar Stockton, C.J. Carr, Trinidad Chambliss, Dante Moore all the way out at 30-1, as is Haynes King. John, still feels like a wide-open market, although we're now talking about the quarterbacks for the best teams in the country being the ones that are separating themselves from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, I this is the weakest field that I can remember in a while. I mean, maybe weak's not the right word, but it feels weak. Like I'm looking at these candidates, and I'm just not really moved. Like I would love for a Jeremiah Smith to have, emerged, but it just really hasn't happened. Like they haven't been winning in that way. Carson Beck, I get it. Miami's legit. They're a really freaking good team. They can win it all. But I don't really know if that's because Carson Beck. I think he's kind of like along for the ride as opposed to leading it. I mean, they have an offensive line that could give all three of us time, right? Like it's pretty amazing how that team is built. I think Ty Simpson is probably the best bet right now. I mean, it's an Alabama team that's surging, and they play through him. More so than, a lot of the other teams that you'll see here. And plus, again, they have a chance to, they could win every game the rest of the season. It's certainly, in the realm of possibility. So I think I would, if I had to bet, and I wouldn't because I don't think any of these guys is really making a great case. I would probably bet Ty Simpson here at, 3.5-1. But what am I getting here? I'm not getting much value.
Yeah, the issue with Ty Simpson, and this is where he could propel himself. If they win out, they would have beaten Tennessee this weekend. They would have beaten LSU. They would have beaten Oklahoma. And then whoever they play in the SEC championship game, A&M, Georgia. I mean, he would have, included the Georgia win that they already have, 5 wins over some pretty solid competition. I mean, he might have 5 wins over really ranked teams and then 4 wins over playoff teams. That's possible. It's hard to say no to if they wind up winning out. I think there's going to be some Carson Beck bias, anti Carson Beck. He's been around so long, and they never gave him credit at Georgia. He broke up with a Cavender twin. I mean, nobody likes that. So you got to go there. I think Mendoza, they don't have a losable game on the schedule. They're going to wind up being, they might be the number 1 seed. If they go and they win out, and they want to beat Ohio State, the Big Ten title, they're going to be the number 1 seed. So that's a guy that you can't overlook. I mean, and he's got the best odds of the 3.
Yeah, I just, like John mentioned earlier when talking about Simpson and Beck and Mendoza's in that crowd too. I don't know if the return's worth it at this point. If you haven't placed your Heisman bet at this point and you're looking for something with a greater return on your investment, none of these are jumping off the page at you. Like Dante Moore may have before last weekend. I mean, maybe if you believe in an A&M run that isn't totally driven around defense, Marcel Reed at 20-1 is still a name that jumps out because they've kind of somehow flown under the radar, the Aggies, to this point. But there's not a lot of names. I think John's right. This is weak, maybe isn't the right word, but just not all that attractive Heisman field in recent memory. So especially if you're looking for a name farther down the board that could realistically have a shot, maybe a Gunnar Stockton at like 25-1 if you think Georgia's got a run in them. But again, we're talking about the Heisman. It's getting voted on before the playoffs start. So you take that out of the equation to a certain extent. Who's going to, like you said, Choppy, who's going to run the table the rest of the way? I think Mendoza isn't a bad look if you believe Indiana can get past Ohio State. But again, we're talking about a game that I don't even know if it's going to be played before most of the Heisman votes are cast, right? So you just look at what's on the table as far as the rest of the regular season and who can have the most success, and does anybody step out? I tend to go back to Beck if we're talking about people we actually expect to win the award. But at 3-1, 4-1, I don't know if that bet is worth it. It would have to be something that I made months ago. The problem is all the names that we talked about way back in July and August, John, Nussmeier, Aller was talked about, Arch Manning, they're all out the window. None of those guys is winning the Heisman now. Aller's not even going to play the rest of the year. He's not going to play college football again, which is what's blown this thing wide open.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts to think about just all the, I think in the case of Arch, it's been more, maybe our expectations were the problem there. But like, he hasn't been anywhere close to what we expected. Lenore Sellers is struggling. DJ Lagway, where's that step? I mean, I guess it's been better the last couple of weeks since he got Wilson in there, but I expected more from him. Aller obviously is gone. So yeah, I think that's exactly right. That's a great call, Chris, because you expected like all four of those guys to probably be at the top of this thing. And so now that they're all like safely out, it's kind of just made this, Mad Max field.
It's like Lord of the Flies. There's just nobody left to run the thing, and nobody's really in charge of the Heisman race right now. I think, again, it's why Beck makes a ton of sense, but I don't know if it makes sense betting-wise right now as far as someone who could win the Heisman as we're now looking at more than halfway through